Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This is going to be the astro weather for December 21st through the 28th, 2025. Major headlines this week, we have Venus entering into the sign of Capricorn and the winter solstice. So I'm excited to be back with you guys. We're going to take you through all of the transits for the week ahead. And I want to wish you guys a very Merry Christmas and holiday season. I hope you guys enjoy this week, filled with lots of warmth and love and obviously lots of magic. Just a few quick notes before we get into today's video. Please do like this video and give me a thumbs up if it resonates with you. It really helps the channel grow. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, click the bell button below, and make sure your guys' alerts are on so you can see more of my videos. I'm here Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays using tarot and astrology to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. And also drop your rising sign below. Let me know where Venus is moving through your chart in Capricorn. Where are you guys feeling the love and the ambition this week? I do read a lot of your guys' comments. I can't always get back to them, but I appreciate your guys' interaction. And I'm inviting you to join me on Friday. I'll be here live on the channel at 6 p.m. Central Time. That's 4 p.m. Pacific and 7 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be doing live tarot readings, and it's always fun on Friday nights. So come and join us. I'm sure it'll be a blast this week. All right, so weekly vibe. What we are kind of looking at is obviously a pretty smooth week. So I'm looking forward to seeing this. Obviously, we are going to have quite a powerful shift from Sagittarius season into Capricorn season. So it's going to be a little bit more grounded. Obviously, that's going to be kicking off with the winter solstice here in the Northern Hemisphere on December 21st. So maybe you guys are kind of waking up, feeling the sun square Neptune, and shortly after on Sunday, we are going to have the solstice. So we're kind of moving from these big picture dreams in Sagittarius, where it's been very adventurous and obviously kind of filled with a lot of optimism and kind of focusing on the future. And now we are shifting into the more practical, ambitious nature of Capricorn. This is a sign that's all about structure and long-term planning. And with the sun entering Capricorn, it's really time to honor endings from 2025. So this is an important week to really kind of reflect on achievements and focusing on moving forward and building solid foundations for the year ahead in 2026. Now this week we will also see Venus entering into the sign of Capricorn. This will be taking place on Christmas Eve. And it adds a little bit more of like a mature, committed tone when it comes to love, values, and money. Likely relationships are going to feel a little bit more serious, and we're drawn more to traditions and stability this week and what truly lasts. So it's perfect for high quality gifts, things that can also be, used for work, or things that are going to be very valuable in the long term. And overall, I think the vibes this week are very reflective, yet determined, because these Venus transits in Capricorn, the sun in Capricorn is really reflecting off of Saturn in Pisces. So it's important to conserve energy this week. Obviously, we're going to be touching on setting some boundaries, especially when it comes to work and family. And we'll be channeling our inspiration into real world goals. So it's a beautiful holiday, and I think we're really kind of blending some of this introspection with gratitude and some quiet power. Now, I will take you guys through the 12 rising signs, so stay tuned. At the end of the video, I'll talk a little bit about where Venus is dancing through Capricorn and what that means for you. But we're going to kick this off with looking at the Venus in Capricorn transit. We're going to talk a little bit about what it means. And what you guys need to know is from December 24th, 2025 until January 17th, 2026, Venus will be in this sign. Now, Capricorn, obviously the 10th sign of the Zodiac, this is cardinal Earth. That means that it's going to be impacting those of you guys who have any rising signs that are associated with Venus, because your chart ruler is on the move. So for my Taurus and Libra risings, definitely pay attention to this shift, because there's a new area of focus for you. As well as my Capricorn and Capricorn risings, you guys get a bit of a touch of beauty and a glow up with this transit. And Venus moving through Capricorn for you guys, I think you guys are going to feel this the most directly, because it's going to bring a little bit more enhanced charm, obviously focus on self-worth through your achievements, and also opportunities for committed relationships or more financial stability. Now in astrology, Venus is the planet that is tied to love. It's about beauty. It's also connected to money and values, pleasure, as well as harmony, art, and self-worth. So there's going to be a little touch of magic, particularly over the next couple of weeks, as we see Venus, the Sun, and Mars move through this sign. Now, Capricorn in astrology is a sign that is associated with Saturn. So this means that this is a sign that is ambitious. It is all about discipline. It's about timing, coming of age, maturity and responsibility. This is also a sign that really knows structure and how to plan long-term goals. So likely tradition, maturity, and building long-lasting legacies in the Capricorn area of our chart is going to be a focus for the next several weeks. Now, what is this going to feel like? Because Venus I kind of see as like a flower. She kind of opens up to something, and she definitely kind of gets in touch with our feelings, as well as anything kind of connected to what pleasures we are seeking. It's also going to be creating some different kind of style trends. And I really feel like this is where we get serious about really making the time for the things that we love. So whether it's relationships, if it's financial endeavors, it's really less fluff when it's in Capricorn. It's more about commitment. And we'll probably find that relationships really deepen with loyalty and realism. Singles are going to be seeking more reliable partners, and we'll find that values are shifting towards quality over quantity. Now, Venus in Capricorn is known for timeless style, obviously practical beauty, and investments that endure. So we'll find that we're going to feel a little bit more grounded and kind of sensual in a mature way, kind of like committing to what truly matters amid some of the, holiday traditions. Now, a natal Venus in Capricorn person, very different than Venus in Sag that we've been experiencing the last couple of weeks. People who have a natal Venus will be experiencing their Venus return at some point through the next couple of weeks. So if your Venus is there, pay attention. You guys will find that even if you don't, we're going to see some of the themes of what people experience with this placement. And Venus is known for kind of moving slowly and deeply when it's in this sign. It's really pragmatic when it comes to love and relationships. It's generally pretty loyal. And these types of people really prefer partners that are going to have, stability and obviously status. So their style is a little bit more classic. They tend to do something that's like timeless and elegant and sophisticated. So usually Venus in Capricorn people prefer tailored pieces, earth tones and quality over trends. So they really expect quality when it comes to their style and their purchases. And often they find that they kind of express their affection through actions and providing security for other people. Now, this is all going to be feeding off of Saturn in Pisces, because now that we have Venus moving into a Saturn-based sign, Saturn is definitely going to be a little bit more so highlighted, even though it's in a sign that can be a little bit more invisible. And with Saturn now direct and in conjunction to Neptune, this creates a little bit more of a theme of emotional kind of maturity and really kind of providing a little bit more spiritual structure. So dreams can actually become more realistic. Boundaries definitely blend with compassion and discipline. And it's really supporting manifesting creative or compassionate goals and doing this with patience. And it's all about dissolving old limits and doing so gently. Now, something that I like about this transit is that we are going to see for the next several weeks, Mars and Venus will be moving through the same sign. Now, that is positive because we're going to see a lot more passion, a lot more action, a lot more relationship opportunities in the area of Capricorn. But we will also see a period of time where Venus and Mars are combust. So they are actually moving side by side with the sun up until about January the 6th. So we can feel like there's just too much focus on relationships, too much focus on work, too much focus on money. We can see the darker side of the Capricorn, which can be very ambitious, sometimes greedy. It can also be hyper-focused on its pursuit of career endeavors rather than relationships. So we can feel like relationships can get a little overshadowed. So, with Mars being there, it's obviously in its exaltation. This is really amplifying the drive with Mars and Venus in Capricorn when it comes to love and finances. So some of us might find that we're kind of pursuing relationships that are more out in the world, things that are connected to business, networking, bringing in clients, and really focusing on kind of building something long-lasting in the future with relationships. So we might be feeling like we're pursuing relationships in a more kind of like professional way. And we'll be more kind of passionate when it comes to the pursuit of our goals, and we'll be assertive but controlled when it comes to attraction. So it can actually energize commitments, and it's important just to kind of watch for power dynamics. I think it's great for productive central energy, but it can just definitely feel like very overpowering. We're kicking off the new year just busier than ever. I think to make the most of this transit, we want to set long-term relationship or financial goals. And if you're doing that, you're going to find that it's actually going to be quite beneficial, especially when we're starting to see some of the sextiles to Saturn and some of the trines to Uranus. It can actually produce some new set of values, better finances, stronger relationships, and obviously some change. It's also important to be thinking about investing in quality items. Maybe we are showing love through reliability and acts of service than necessarily buying like people gifts and things. And this is also a time that's really important to build tradition. And if we are, dressing up, we're dressing up with like integrity. We have a little bit more confidence. We're dressing to impress, especially out in the world when it comes to our work. And there is a real focus on self-worth tied to our achievements. And likely we will find that hard work will be rewarded. Now, as for what's going to play out in the world, Venus moving through this sign is definitely going to put, I think, increased focus on economic stability. Something that's important to consider is that Venus will be the dispositor of Uranus in Taurus. So we're going to see headlines likely over the next couple of weeks regarding how governments are kind of navigating changes in the financial system, major fluctuations going on with crypto, changes happening in the bond markets. And I think that it's going to be about them actually, focusing on bringing about more financial stability out in the world. And this is not just local to any one particular country. It's going to be global because Saturn in Pisces is influencing that. We also might find that there is more of a focus on traditional values in politics and society. Possible that we can see, commitments in some global alliances that can be building. And the holiday season is really going to be emphasizing family legacies and responsibility in leadership. Likely we'll find that mature approaches to beauty and fashion trends are going to be a big theme. And like Capricorn is a little bit more focused on, money going into government contracts, anything that's connected to like big business. It can also be representing some big mergers and things that are kind of taking place globally. As for your personal kind of predictions, you're going to have to pull out your chart. So take a look at where Capricorn is in your chart. This is going to be an area that is going to be very much highlighted for the next several weeks with the Sun, Mars, and Venus there. But I think on a personal level, we're going to feel a little bit more drawn to having love or financial security, maybe having more serious commitments. So we can see a lot of people that can be getting engaged. We can see business partnerships that are forming, and obviously financial planning will really peak throughout this transit. Love can actually feel a little bit more enduring, and we can be feeling like we're healing from past instabilities, and we're doing that because we're having a lot more maturity in our interactions. Now, as for the important Venus in Capricorn transits that you guys are going to want to watch for, very similar to what we see with the Mars in Capricorn, we're going to see a lot of the same oppositions that are going to happen to Jupiter, which will make things bigger. We're going to see the same sextiles to the North Node and also Saturn in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces, which is going to be a little bit more romantic, a little bit more stable. And some of the more fun trine to Uranus in Taurus, which is going to be some positive financial fluctuations that can be happening. I think a lot of people who are going into 2026 that have big career goals or they're launching businesses or starting businesses may find that this is just like a kick-ass time to do it. So I'm going to take you guys through all of the transits, and you can equally find these below in the description. So if you want to see the transits for this week's astro weather, they will be there, and you can also see all of the Venus dates as well. Now remember, from December 24th, 2025 through January 17th, 2026, this is when Venus is in Capricorn. So we're going to kind of speed ahead a little bit. We're going to take a look at the ingress, and that'll be taking place on the 24th, right on Christmas Eve. So Venus moves into Capricorn and sits at 0 degrees. So this is just a few days shy of today's kind of solstice point. Sometimes when planets sit at 0 degrees of the cardinal signs, obviously Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn, we see some really big world events that are happening. Doesn't mean something necessarily has to happen this go round, but I would definitely be paying attention to some shifts in regards to financial policies, anything that's going to be kind of connected to government leadership, women who are out in the world who are like CEOs, or anything that is connected to women in politics. I think that can be obviously a big highlight also. But when Venus enters into Capricorn on the 24th, we're now shifting to our values being a little bit more mature. Relationships can get more serious, and obviously there is going to be more of a focus on commitment and tradition. So It's not so much just because it's Christmas Eve or Christmas Day when this is happening. I think that there's going to be some major turning points for a lot of people regarding their relationships, revolving around who they're actually, spending time with, who they're making sacrifices for, who they're kind of going the distance for. And we might find that we're honoring tradition this holiday season. So we might be spending time with older female relatives. There can be a sense of carrying over old family traditions, pulling out plates and decor and other things that maybe have come from our moms or our grandmas or, from our older generations. And I think it's a beautiful way to kind of honor this particular transit with Venus's ingress into this sign. Now, we won't see much until the 1st of January, and that will be taking place here. And on the 1st, we are going to see Venus start making her first real aspect. And this is going to be Venus at a 10, sextiling the North Node in Pisces, and also trining the South Node in Virgo. So we see Venus harmonizing with the nodes, which I think is beautiful. It's an opportunity to integrate more love, more seriousness, more, kind of commitment to inch towards the North Node Dharma and also kind of release some of the South Node karma. So this harmonious flow towards the North Node is all about destiny. And this is obviously in Pisces, so it's spiritual and emotional growth and relationships and values. And with that trine to the South Node in Virgo, there is this tendency to release a need to be perfect. And we're focusing more on compassion and connection rather than feeling like we're kind of nitpicky. I do think a lot of people are going to be starting off the new year really focusing on prioritizing business relationships with this aspect, maybe willing to let go of old ways of working or doing things that just don't feel good. Amazing for New Year's resolutions. So if you are serious about making some career changes or some health changes or some spiritual changes, all those things kind of resonate with January the 1st. Now, this is where things start to get interesting. Around the 6th, we are going to see Venus coming into a cazimi with the sun. So this will be a new Venus star point that's happening. And I've been reflecting on this a lot because the last time we had one like this in Capricorn, I believe was in the end of 2021. That's when we had a Venus retrograde in Capricorn. We saw a cazimi there, but it was not ideal because it was retrograde. So this is going to be a little bit better. And there can be some storylines that are actually connected to what is shaping up this holiday season into the new year that ties back to what happened with that Venus retrograde in 2021. So you're gonna have to put on your thinking caps and kind of think about what was happening about 5 years ago. Now, with that being said, when we look at the Venus cazimi, it means that this is a moment where something is dying and being reborn. It's a superior conjunction with Venus in front of the sun. And likely what we're gonna find is that on the 6th, there is an opportunity for some kind of powerful renewal. Now, the sun is the heart, it's the ego. So it can be about self-worth, it can be about our career goals. And with it being in the heart of the sun, it's really purifying and kind of clarifying our desires. And it's gonna get boosted because Mars is there. So there's a lot more action, there's a lot of charisma, and there can be a major rebirth for people in their careers, in love or money matters. And also anything that's connecting to leadership out in the world. We're going to see some powerful action that's going on with leadership. Now, finally, Venus and Mars are going to be ahead of the sun. So they're not necessarily combust. They will still move very closely though. So we're still going to feel like there is just this area of Capricorn that is just on fire in our chart. And there's a lot of momentum and focus. But keep in mind, it's all playing off of Saturn. So for some of us, it means we actually, in order to receive this renewal when it comes to relationships, money, and career, we have to have faith, right? We have to have a vision. We have to believe that something better is coming in. We have to be willing to sometimes learn to let things go. So we can see people having some major career changes, some job changes that are kind of happening, and some big turning points when it comes to relationships. I think with Mars and Venus moving side by side, if you happen to be a Mars ruled chart, so like my Aries risings, my Scorpio risings, and my Venus ruled charts, Taurus, Libra, and obviously Capricorn, these are going to be the ones that are going to feel it the most. And from the 6th of January through the 11th, we are going to see Venus, the Sun, and Mars moving side by side. So this is intense passion. There's a lot of drive here with Mars and its exaltation. Love feels ambitious. There's a lot of sexual energy that's running high. And it's great for pursuing goals or partners in a very bold manner. Now, then we're going to get to January 9th. So as if that wasn't like enough, that like triple whammy of that conjunction, I would say anyone who's got any planets 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 degrees, you're going to be feeling this the most, specifically of Capricorn, but the cardinal signs too. And then on the 9th, we're going to see Venus in Capricorn coming into opposition with Jupiter in Cancer. And oppositions represent kind of like a Saturn energy. So it can be love at a distance or long distance relationships or feeling kind of stretched between, two areas of our chart. Very, very unusual astrology to see all of this that is coming together and opposing Jupiter. So it's like overdoing it sometimes. I think with that opposition, we find that there's like tension between commitment and emotional expansion. So you're actually going to see, we're going to start looking at Cancer and the Capricorn areas of your chart where you're kind of getting pulled in two opposite directions. And really it wants us to look at that tension and focus on commitment and emotional expansion. We can do two things at one time. But for some of us, it's going to feel like there's indulgence versus restraint because Jupiter in Cancer is very emotional. It wants to expand the home and the family and the intuition and the emotions. And then Capricorn is just like full steam ahead with getting stuff done. So many of us are going to feel like there is this need to kind of balance security with nurturing. So it can't be all work and no emotional kind of play. It can't be all focusing on our emotions and not getting work done. Welcome to my life, guys. I've got Venus in Capricorn in opposition to Jupiter in Cancer. So you guys get a little taste of what I do. But I have actually found that opposition, even though when I was younger, was difficult. But now it's actually become a lot easier. And it's really kind of highlighted me getting a lot of work done and working from home. So it's going to be different in everybody's chart. But we might find that I think out in the world, this shift that's happening is I think a lot of people are going back to work. A lot of people are moving out of this COVID era where they've been working from home or working remotely. Now they have kind of moved through the hybrid where some people are going back to work sporadically. And a lot of companies and businesses are going to go, everybody is to be in the office now. So that means that some people are going to have to move. Other people are going to go, what do I do with my kids? How is this going to impact my family life? And people are going to have to kind of integrate and learn how to get back into the real world. Now, on the 11th, we have a little bit of an ouch. Truth be told, I think this is really the only difficult aspect we're going to be seeing. And this is when Venus comes into a square with Chiron. And you may be feeling it from the time of the Venus-Jupiter opposition because it's kind of pulling us in two different directions. But then Venus comes into a square with Chiron at 22 degrees of Aries. Now, positive is, Capricorn is like dominating the area of Aries. So unless you're an Aries or an Aries rising, you guys might navigate this a little bit better. But certainly Chiron represents personal wounds. Now at this point in time, Chiron is awake now. He is now direct. He's no longer retrograde. So this is about healing wounds around self-worth, maybe independence. Maybe individuals are feeling like they're just like working their butts off at the beginning of the year. And there is this theme of vulnerability in relationships and that they can actually lead to growth. So this is where that pressure of the square is pushing us to kind of show up and take responsibility out in the world. So it can push some people to realize, hey, I actually need to be better about my relationships with people at work, or, I need to be kind of practicing more maturity in my committed relationships. But there can definitely be some tests of relationships that can kind of come in with that square. So watch for the pressure. And then on the 15th of January, we're going to see Venus coming into a sextile with Saturn. And this is a closing sextile. So sextiles are friendly. They're kind of Venus energies naturally. And when Venus sextiles Saturn, there may be this realization that's like, okay, I've gotten a lot of work done. Like the first 2 weeks of the month of January feel like a lot. And maybe it's just kind of feeling overwhelmed coming back to work if we've taken time off. And now we're feeling like we can kind of rest and we can kind of enjoy. But obviously, Saturn is going to be about, stabilizing something. So that sextile to Saturn is about stable innovation. We will also see at the same time, Venus is coming into a trine with Uranus and Taurus, which does bring, this sense of easy flow for structured changes in finances and love. And it's also blending that theme of Capricorn, which is all about, tradition, but Uranus is about excitement. So we're going to likely hear at the beginning of the year, within, the third week of January, I think there's going to be new regulations on crypto. I think that we're going to see certain governments come out and start talking about trading and exchanges. I have heard that there is speculation that the stock market may be in this next year be moving to 24 hours trading. I think that could be part of what they're announcing. And also what governments are doing to deal with the bond market. And, if there is endless printing that's going on around the world, how that's going to be impacting, central banking. So Uranus and Taurus could represent the destabilization that's going on with resources. So in this case, the Venus sextile Saturn is more like, oh, this is the direction of where things are going. So we'll have to see what happens. But then this leads us to the 17th, where then Venus forms a sextile to Neptune. It'll be at a critical degree. So obviously 29 degrees kind of feels like a massive turning point. And Venus sextile Neptune, I guess the positive here is that, Neptune can be very romantic, idealistic. It's great for poets, writers, filmmakers, artists. And it's really blending this idealism with realism. So we can see a lot more compassion. We can see that people are feeling inspired. They're also feeling kind of dreamy. And I think that, it's not a bad aspect to have, but there is this feeling that, and many other astrologers will tell you, there is about to be a huge change in the monetary system. I think with the sextiles to Saturn and Neptune, they're talking about where certain governments in certain countries are going to be going in a different way in terms of trade and how they're managing banking and systems and exchanges. And it will most likely lead to unity with some nations and isolation with others. And so this is all happening right before Venus goes into Aquarius. So when it goes into Aquarius, also on the 17th, very different flavor of Venus. This is now quirky and kind of unconventional and different, and focusing on the future and things that are a little bit more abstract. And when Venus goes into this sign, it's still a Saturn-based sign traditionally, but then we're really looking at it more from, okay, long-term commitments and things that we've made, or, plans that have kind of maybe changed in a good way, and now it's bringing about more freedom. So when Venus is in the sign, it's a little bit more detached. It's more about, science and tech and the internet and intellectual love, and obviously freedom in relationships. So with that coming into conjunction with Pluto, we'll see what happens. We'll talk about Venus in Aquarius next month. But yeah, that's basically the Venus in Capricorn transit at a glance. I'm not mad at these Capricorn transits. I mean, I know some of you guys, especially in the cardinal signs, are kind of feeling the oppositions and the squares. I feel you. But some of these sextiles to Saturn and Neptune can be a wonderful release and like a reprieve. And some of the trines, I think, to Uranus is going to be exciting job changes, exciting financial changes. It's just those oppositions to Jupiter and Cancer that are a bit of a stinker, and we're feeling kind of overworked or emotionally overwhelmed. So just take a breather and remember that January is not a speed race. We have to kind of take our time and be willing to kind of do relationships and financial things different. All right, so let's get into this week. We're going to start with December 21st, 2025. How are you guys feeling this Sunday? If you're an early riser, you're waking up to the sun that is coming into a square with Neptune. So we might be feeling like a little bit of sleepy heads this morning. There is a sense of maybe kind of feeling energetically low, or kind of questioning what's going to happen in the future, or feeling unsure, or there are some shifts in regards to our belief systems or spiritual practices. Slow and steady this morning. Obviously, something else to kind of think about is that we just came off of this new moon in Sagittarius. So now we are building into what is going to eventually be, at the beginning of January, I think, a beautiful full moon in Cancer. So even though you're feeling a little kind of questioning the future this morning, stay optimistic, because I think this is actually going to be a really great kind of lunar cycle. Now the moon's in Capricorn this morning. So something that we're watching is what's happening with Saturn. And Saturn is obviously direct now in Pisces, conjunct Neptune, several days of Saturn and Neptune squaring the sun. So we've been having some delays in this last week. There's been some traveling issues. There's been some confusion. We will not be having that this week. So it's going to be wonderful to kind of finally see the fog start to lift when the sun and obviously other planets finally come out of a square with Neptune. Now, the moon today is going to make a number of transits and aspects. And the big one is going to be that the moon is going to come into an opposition with Jupiter. Now, Capricorn moon is emotional labor. I guess that's the best way to put it. Maybe you feel like you're having to kind of hustle around and get a lot of work done today. Get it done and get it done early. That's my advice. So you can really kind of ease into the evening, and you can kind of move away from some of these cardinal squares that are going to happen. If you have anything 20 to 24 degrees of the cardinal signs, right? Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn, you are going to feel like everything is just happening all at one time today. I know some of you guys don't work on Sundays, but this is the day that you want to get some stuff done. That way you can really enjoy this next week. Now, when the moon opposes Jupiter, there are big emotions, big feelings about what we need to get done versus what we would rather be doing, right? Sleeping, cozying up, hanging out with family. And that moon is not only going to oppose Jupiter, bringing up some big feelings, but it's also going to square Chiron and Aries. Take note of what happens today. That's my advice, because you will see this exact aspect happen with Mars, the Sun, Venus, and eventually Mercury in the month of January. And we're just going to feel like, okay, are we taking on too much? Is it too much work? Not enough family time? Too much family time? Not focusing on work? And some of the personal wounding and isolation and issues that kind of come up in the process. Now, the big transit that you're going to see today is the Sun square Neptune, and that's only happening in the early morning hours. So we will actually see the Sun ingress into Capricorn, and that's going to be happening, you know, right around 9:30, 10 o'clock Central Time. I'm here in Texas, so you got to change your time zone depending on where you are. And when this happens, around 9:03 a.m. is what I have here, the Sun enters into Capricorn. So we are officially in Capricorn season. From here forward, we are going to start to see the light come back between now and the spring. So when we have the winter solstice here in the northern hemisphere, this represents this reflective kind of turning point. I think the daily vibe is going to feel like there's some dreamy confusion in the morning that's giving way to more of a sense of groundedness, more ambition. Obviously, emotional sensitivity will heighten around family and security with some of the oppositions and squares with the moon. And to best navigate Sunday, I think that I would honor the solstice. This is an important turning point. Light some candles, take some time today to like fully integrate and think about what your goals are personally to have better balance in the Capricorn and Cancer areas of your chart. This is also an important time to rest, okay? So it's about a reset. And Saturn is the ruler of the Sun, Mars, and the Moon, which is in Pisces. So it means that it's not all about hustle, hustle, hustle. We also have to take time to dream, feel inspired, create, and meditate. And I would be setting intentions for 2026 on Sunday. So take some time today to do that. Heal insecurities through self-compassion. That really is the focus for today. Now, we will take this into Tuesday. So we'll see the moon make the opposition to Jupiter here. And that's at 22. It's a Capricorn degree, where we're just spent kind of doing all this stuff, probably getting ready for the holidays. That'll be around 7 p.m. Central Time. So you guys are going to want to just take it easy in the evening, get as much done early in the day as you can. And then this will take us into Monday, the 22nd. And when we wake up, the moon is still in Capricorn just for a brief period of time early in the morning. So, you know, Sun's in Capricorn, Mars is in Capricorn, Moon's in Capricorn. It's a very busy Monday. And it looks like what we're going to have early in the morning is that the moon is going to be still kind of in a sextile to Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, and it'll form a trine to Uranus in Taurus. So a lot of grounded, kind of stabilized energy. That's what I like about these aspects. It also is then going to move into Aquarius. So it's a very busy early morning. Moon then moves into Aquarius around 10 a.m. Central Time. And it's going to be coming into conjunction with Pluto. So that'll be kind of the late morning into midday, right around lunchtime. The big transit that you're going to be watching for on Monday is going to be the Jupiter in Cancer square Chiron in Aries. Now, I did a video on this. If you guys haven't seen it, I don't think a lot of people are looking for that transit in particular. But it's definitely a stinker, and that's part of what's kind of happening on, Sunday. That's kind of getting triggered with the square with the moon. Go and watch it. I recommend watching it, especially if you have cardinal energies in your chart around that 20 to 24 degrees. It explains the square, where we've been kind of dealing with some family issues or personal issues or housing issues really since late October. And this is the second square that we're going to see as a part of a Jupiter Chiron square series that will continue into summer of 2026 when Chiron moves into Taurus and Jupiter moves into Leo. But what you guys need to know is that this square is kind of hanging around all week, and the lunar transits are really triggering this. So, what does it mean with the moon sextiling Saturn and Neptune in the early morning hours? I think that Monday feels like we're kind of in the flow, even if we are working, and we're really focusing on structuring our dreams in the morning. And it may pay to have a vision for what you want to accomplish, to meditate before you kind of go to work. And we're going to find that this is going to be a time where as we get into the afternoon and the moon starts crossing into a conjunction with Pluto in Aquarius, so we're still looking at Saturn, we're still looking at Uranus, nothing's really happening there. And the moon-Pluto conjunction is going to happen around 2 p.m. Central Time-ish. And that's obviously emotional purging, intensity, drama, things that are kind of going on that's bringing some drama to politics, or things that are happening with Congress or Senate, because this is about groups of leadership. And Saturn and Neptune is still connected to this. So this is talking about where there is, maybe some bombshell information being released, things that are of a intense crime-related, financial crime-related, public is kind of like, what the heck is going on vibe. And it definitely creates some drama in the early afternoon. Now, in your world, it can mean your goals are changing. There's changes with your social groups. Maybe there's some pressure with friends. And there's just a lot going on as Monday kind of happens with the Jupiter-Chiron square. So we put this into perspective. I mean, the daily vibe, it does feel structured, that things can definitely move. We can see that we can really focus on our dreams. But as we get into the afternoon, there's deep insights. There is this huge psychological, emotional kind of purge, and it's about power shifts happening out in the world. 2 degrees deals with money, it deals with food, it deals with anything connected to the planet, anything that's going to be connecting to also like cryptocurrencies. And I think to navigate Monday, this is really about looking at the morning for getting all of your practical kind of stuff done and having that vision. And as we get into the afternoon, you really have to focus on that intensity that's going to be out in the world emotionally with people, embrace some of the change that's coming up. It may be beneficial to be really reflecting on power dynamics and maybe trying to avoid certain things kind of exploding, or avoiding, dealing with some of the emotional intensity. We have to kind of deal with it head on, and watch for some drama that can happen in social groups, and avoid anything that deals with like emotional control or manipulation. Now, once the moon starts to move away from Pluto, things ease up a little bit. And that'll be in like the early evening into the afternoon. And then the moon is going to be unaspected. So we're not going to see anything that's going to be going on. All right, so this is going to take us into Tuesday, the 23rd. And on the 23rd, when we wake up, the moon is still in Aquarius. So, when the moon's in Aquarius, we are focusing on socializing, friend groups, connecting with others. There's parties, there's lots of social stuff happening. So certainly having the moon here, especially with the sextile that it's going to make to Mercury, is great for, traveling to connect with people, connecting with friends from far away, having some really exciting kind of travels over the holiday. It does make traveling on the 23rd a whole lot smoother. And what we will see happening is that the moon is not really going to be making any aspects at all. So in a way, we might feel like things aren't really getting done, stuff's kind of winding down, we're preparing for the holidays, but it does really highlight communication with other people. So this is a good time to like confirm flights, accommodations, call friends, be planning travel. And if you have to go anywhere, I recommend doing it on the 23rd because I think it's going to be the easiest time to do it. However, we will see Venus in Sagittarius start to come into a square with Neptune. Okay, so there can be some confusion happening on Tuesday night, the 23rd, revolving around relationships. And so recently, you guys actually saw just over the weekend, Venus was in a square to Saturn. So there was maybe some delays with relationships or some confusion about, love or money things. And now this is the final square that we're going to see to Venus and Neptune. And at a 29, it's a critical degree. Okay, so there's drama at 29s. There's drama in regards to leadership. There's drama in relationships with romantic partners. And there can be confusion, misunderstandings. There can be things that make us feel a little bit more emotional and sensitive if we're feeling like lost or forgotten, or that people aren't, including us. So watch for that. And I think that the daily vibe on Tuesday is that there is this sense of the moon going through Aquarius. We're a little bit more detached. We can connect and communicate, but we're not trying to take things personally. Watch for romantic idealism or confusion. Watch for getting catfish. Watch for getting scammed. Yes, things are dreamy with the, the Neptune squares, but I feel like they're not very realistic. There's a lot of unrealistic expectations when it comes to love and financial matters. And some people are going to be feeling like they wish they could give more. They wish they could receive more. And we're going to feel a little sensitive as a result of that. Tuesday is a day that you do not want to get your hopes up. Tuesday is a day that you want to be grounded when it comes to, your fantasies, your relationships, but don't be, spending any crazy amounts of money. That's my advice. Like last minute Christmas shopping, people are going to be like, I'm going to buy that and hope that it gets here tomorrow. And then there could be some disappointment, or it doesn't look like the way you thought it was going to look. And it's important to communicate early when it comes to love and money. So this square is coming in pretty hot in the late evening hours of the 23rd. It may materialize, I think, as some people being like, man, I just really wish so-and-so could be here. Or I really wish that, they would be able to visit, or I wish they would call me. And I would say maybe there's going to be some surprises where people who you thought that you were not going to see ends up showing up over the holiday. And that's going to be because Venus is going to come into Capricorn. I think this is also about innovative ideas that can kind of shine, or getting creative when it comes to how you can include other people, or be bringing in different kind of cultures or different spiritual practices and making people feel included in your holiday plans. Now, this takes us to the 24th of December. So this is going to be Wednesday. And on Wednesday, we see the moon is in the kind of final degrees of Aquarius. There will be a lunar shift happening later in the day into Pisces. But the moon is sextile Venus, so that's nice. So we still see lots of social opportunities, connecting with friends. We are also going to see that the moon is going to be in a sextile to Chiron in Aries. So we're feeling included, and maybe that we're connecting with friends if we're feeling that we're alone or kind of isolated during the time this week. We're also going to see that the moon is going to square Uranus. So that's a little bit of a stinker, because this can mean that there is some disagreements or misunderstandings, friction when it comes to money, friction when it comes to food, group gatherings and financial dynamics. I've seen a lot of my Aries risings going through this. I've also seen a lot of my Aquarius risings going through some similar squares. And I would say the best way to make everybody feel like it's a joyous occasion is everybody like kind of jumping in and bringing something. So whether you're bringing a plate of food to a family gathering, or you're bringing at least one gift and then you do like a family exchange of everybody getting a present. This is about people working together to kind of fill in the gaps of where other people may not have enough, or they feel like, they're not capable of being able to like give or be as abundant during the holidays. Could also be a time where you're seeing more people who are, donating time or services, or, working with the needy, or, being in soup kitchens or giving back to others. And it's a great way to use that square. Otherwise, I think with the moon in Aquarius square, Uranus and Taurus, we're going to see picky people over food, people who are kind of feeling slighted because they did more, they didn't receive enough. People who are also going to be arguing about, politics, or having, indifferences about, financial matters. It can get a little sticky there. And that square looks like it's going to be happening when it hits 28. So this is literally going to be in the afternoon hours. So watch from, I would say, about 2 p.m. Central to about 7 p.m., 8 p.m. That's when you see some of the tension between the square with the moon and Uranus. And that's important because Uranus is, obviously the dispositor of the moon in Aquarius. And I think we're just going to see a lot of people being like, no, we're gluten intolerant, we don't eat that, or like, oh no, we're doing something different with the gift exchange this year. Totally fine, but you're going to see some people who are going to have just difference of opinions and preferences when it comes to obviously values and food. Now the vibe shifts in the evening on Christmas Eve on the 24th. It's going to be going into Pisces, which is going to be really highlighting anything revolving around Jupiter in Cancer. So some people will be like, well, better late than never. Maybe they show up right at the nick of time, or they're showing up on the morning of the 25th. And I think that this is going to be a very kind of different vibe. Most likely what you guys are going to be finding is that with Venus going into Capricorn on the 24th, relationships feel more solid. We see the moon sextiling Venus, which is beautiful. And Pisces is dreamy, whimsical. This is watching movies. This is doing things that we did when we were kids, because Saturn is there and Jupiter is there. Maybe we feel like we're having like a cozy kind of, gathering with family rather than going out and about and kind of doing things. And I think that, for the most part, the daily vibe feels very stimulating with the moon in Aquarius early in the day. And that sextile to Chiron and Aries is definitely about healing wounds and like connecting with other people. So if you're doing like a friendship holiday or hanging out with friends or neighbors, I think a lot of you guys will have a really great time. But watch for some sudden disruptions later in the evening, 7, 8 o'clock Central Time when the moon squares Uranus. There could be some disruptions there. And then in the evening, moon in Pisces is a lot more softer. It's emotional. And we're going to find that with Venus in Capricorn, that love is definitely feeling a little bit more grounded and mature. So to navigate the 24th, you guys really want to focus on embracing surprises. You also really want to shift into that more kind of, compassionate, home kind of cozy vibe, watching movies, doing things that maybe remind you of your childhood. And we're celebrating Christmas Eve, if you guys celebrate, in a much more committed, traditional way. And certainly Saturn and Neptune is like less is more. And some people might be feeling like they can't do as much, but they're getting kind of creative with how they can be celebrating and being with family. Now this will take us to the 25th on Thursday, which if you guys celebrate will be Christmas. And thankfully things start to really get a lot easier. Like the 24th, the 25th, the 26th, I think are a lot sweeter. We wake up on the 25th and the moon is conjunct the North Node in Pisces. Beautiful aspect. We love to see the moon making nice aspects to the North Node because that's what it's connected to. So as it connects to the North Node, on one hand, we're going to see people who are sleeping in. We're going to see people who are, focusing on the kind of whimsical, magical, kind of spiritual side of the holiday. Certainly Pisces is about church. It's about temple. It's about religious practices. And with Saturn being there, I think you're going to see a flood of people who are going back to church this year. I think you're going to see this on the 24th, the 25th, the 26th, and a lot of people who are really focusing on that spiritual or religious connection to source and wanting to include family in this tradition. Now, if you don't do that, that's fine. Maybe you're deciding that you just want to have a quiet kind of holiday. Maybe you're wanting to, take a long hot bath. You want to rest. Some of you guys will also be feeling like you would rather be alone. And so the other side of Pisces is that when the moon goes through Pisces, especially on the 26th and the 27th, it is going to come into some difficult aspects with Saturn and Neptune. So we see people who are isolated. There's mental health issues. People are more prone to drinking a lot more or drugging a lot more when we go through these transits. And so those of you guys who aren't spending time with family this season can feel a little bit more sensitive. There can definitely be a bit of like a wound there. And we don't need astrology to tell us that that's what happens during the holidays, but it just so happens that for some people, they're just going to feel a lot more emotional. Christmas is going to feel different. They're going to feel like there's someone or something that's missing, and reflecting on what has kind of like left our lives in 2025. So we can feel a little somber. We can also feel that we just need to take things a little bit slower for the rest of the week. Now, something that you will see that's taking place on the 25th is that there's no major aspects. So there's no drama in the skies. You will also see the moon meeting with the North Node at an 11, which is great for parties, gatherings, people coming together, singing. Also, I think, practicing or being more kind of optimistic spiritually about the future. And we will see the moon eventually start coming into a sextile with all this Capricorn, Venus, the sun, and Mars, which means that we are kind of taking a rest from work. We're genuinely like slowing down and focusing on kind of turning within. And the moon is going to start coming into a trine with Jupiter. Now that's going to happen more on the 26th, but we're going to start to feel that vibe where there's more expansiveness, more emotions happening as the evening goes on. So I think it's going to be a cold Christmas in a lot of places because we've got a lot of, energy in mutable Pisces. We're probably going to see a lot of ice, so be careful if you guys are traveling, if you're on the road. We're also going to feel like there is a sense of really focusing on less is more. So if you guys are one of those families that's a less is more Christmas, where you want to do one nice gift or you're focusing on making gifts or things like that, that totally tracks. I love the North Node moon in Pisces for people who do want to, practice spiritual or kind of religious things, or be crafting, creating art, playing music, having kind of movies and stuff on that makes you kind of sentimental. Definitely music and any entertainment is definitely going to be really important for kind of setting the vibe. So what we're going to feel like on the 25th is that things are very spiritual and compassionate this holiday season. We're going to be feeling like there's destined connections with the moon coming into conjunction with the North Node, and there's some harmonious flow to ambitions with all those planets in Capricorn and love. So universal love really peaks. I think we're going to see a lot of unity out in the world. We're going to see a lot of nations that are really practicing their religious or their spiritual kind of things, whether it's singing or lighting lights or, big things involving churches. And I think to navigate the 25th, this is really about practicing empathy and gratitude. That's what the North Node moon wants to do. This might mean that you're inviting people who you know are alone during this holiday season to come and spend time with you. Or maybe you're adopting a senior at a senior center, or donating food or some time with people who are in need. This is also about family time, feeling more fated and supportive, and it's great for, grounded kind of sensual pleasures basically throughout the day. So we'll see the moon North Node conjunction happening around 4 p.m. Central Time, and then the moon is going to continue to go through Pisces into the evening. And in the late night hours, early morning on the 26th, we will see the moon coming into the now later degrees of Pisces, and it's going to start coming into a square with Mercury. So I am seeing some flight issues, flight delays on the 26th, some weather issues. Be careful on the road, especially if there are people who haven't slept well, or we may see a lot more kind of drinking and driving incidents that can be happening with that Moon-Saturn conjunction square Mercury. I also think that for the most part, right before those conjunctions happen, there's something that's really sweet here. So you'll see like the Mercury Moon conjunction where maybe there's some travel delays or, communication issues that are happening at 9 a.m. Central Time. But right after that, the moon's going to trine Jupiter. So this means that we're actually probably leaving the 24th, 25th, going into the 26th, going, oh my God, that was great. It was really amazing. Everything was wonderful. We entertained, we did our thing. Now it's time for rest as the moon is approaching a conjunction with Saturn and eventually Neptune. The other thing to think about on the 26th is no major aspects. So things are quite quiet. And I think for many of us, we kind of feel like that whole period from like Christmas until like the 2nd of January is just kind of like a daze. Like a lot of us are either not working or we're just kind of like, oh, this is weird. We're not used to resting. If you have time off, rest. On the 26th, rest. It's okay to hang out in bed and watch movies. It's okay to take it slow or have like an all-day pajama day. The universe really wants us to do that on the 26th. So there's no need to push. It's more about turning within, resting, recuperating. And obviously, right after that trine to Jupiter, which feels amazing, if you have to travel, I'm hoping you're traveling, around noon Central Time on, because it's going to be a little bit easier to kind of get where you need to go. Then we get into some tricky territory. So the moon's going to keep moving. It's going to come into conjunction with Saturn, and that's going to happen around 6 p.m. Central Time. So now we have heavier moods, heavier vibes, maybe tired, going to bed early, feeling a little bit emotionally limited or restricted. And then the moon is going to be in between Saturn and Neptune, and that's going to be from 7 p.m. Central Time into the early morning hours the next day on the 27th. I think some people are going to have the blues when family goes home. I think some people are going to look around and go, wow, the house is now so quiet. Or, now we're feeling maybe a little under the weather. Watch for emotional issues. Watch for triggers with depression, drinking. Unfortunately, the moon being enclosed by both Saturn and Neptune is not quite positive. And I think we're going to see some people that are really just kind of feeling a holiday hangover. Now, to navigate Friday the 26th, I think that this is really about, emotional expansion, then reality hits. And we're going to feel that we have to kind of check our emotional habits. We might be feeling like we're kind of, isolating a little bit more. There can be some communication friction happening on Friday, and we really want to focus on innovative stability because Moon conjunct Saturn, sextile Uranus is about that. And I think to navigate the 26th is balance your optimism with boundaries. I think this can be a great day where we're feeling very inspired. Art and meditation and music can help avoid miscommunication and misunderstandings and take some alone time if it's needed. Now this will take us to the 27th, which will be Saturday. And when we get to the 27th in the morning, we've got the moon in Aries. So it's a very, very different vibe. Once we get the moon in Aries, it's like Saturday is go, go, go. And we're going to be feeling a lot of action on Saturday. So the moon's going to kick up quite a bit of aspects on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Now, as the moon goes through Aries, we're looking at Mars, and Mars is in Capricorn. So some people are like, yeah, you know what, I'm gearing up, I'm getting ready to go back to work, or I've got a lot of things I need to get in order before work starts again. Mars in Capricorn is exalted, so it wants to be ambitious and take action and get things done. But the moon in Aries is going to come into some friction because it's going to square Venus, it's going to square the sun, it's going to square Mars. So this is the first quarter square moon. So it looks like 8 a.m. Venus and the moon square. Then we're going to see around 1 p.m. Central Time, the sun and the moon square. So we're going to feel like things are a little discombobulated. On Saturday, things aren't necessarily going according to plan. We're going to feel like there are some things we would rather kind of break out and do on our own, other things that we feel like are responsibilities that are kind of looming over us. And when the sun and the moon square, to me, it looks like scheduling conflicts at a 6. And then we're going to see the moon come into a square with Mars here, where there's some frustration that we're having with superiors, elders, parenting related dynamics and dilemmas. And also I think we're going to be hearing about some like foreign tensions because it's going to be at a 9 as well. So Saturday is a little iffy pretty much all day, to be honest with you guys. My thought on Saturday is that even though there's no major transits happening, the Aries moon coming into a square with the sun in the first quarter square and then also Mars, we're going to see that there is going to be some fiery initiative, and that's clashing with structure. It's a lot of, I would rather do this, but that's my responsibility. Or, you know, so-and-so needs me to do this, but I don't want to do it. And we can also find that with the moon square Venus, there's some frustrations in love or goals, and really what it's pushing for is a powerful responsibility and like some kind of transformation when it comes to responsibility and maturity. So to navigate Saturday, channel this energy productively. Yes, there are things that you would probably rather be doing, but when you look at it and you go, wow, you know what? I'm so grateful to have a job, have responsibilities, have family, have people I have to help or take care of or things I have to do. I'm appreciative of that, and you add just a little bit of appreciation. I think it'll go a long way and it'll ease the frustration. This is also about practicing gratitude for all of the things that are kind of lined up on your list. You might make it through the day a little bit better. We're going to feel more assertive, but we need to be patient. And I feel like there could be some deep empowerment that kind of comes about through taking action. Now, the moon's going to keep moving through Aries. You're not going to see too much going on, but Sunday, my goddess, is another major cardinal square day. So we wake up on Sunday the 28th. Moon is still in Aries. At least we're out of the square with Mars. Mars is at a 10, so we're feeling very determined to get work done. And we're going to see the moon coming into a conjunction with Chiron and Aries, which is definitely going to bring up some frustrations, agitation, hostility, heated, kind of situations, anything revolving around migraines, headaches, allergies, or needing to tend to a wound. And that's going to conjunct Chiron and square Jupiter. So it's very similar to what you guys are actually going to be experiencing earlier in the week on Sunday and Monday with some of those squares. So the Chiron squares are pretty loud this week. It does look like you're going to see the Moon Chiron conjunction taking place here. So that's around 5 p.m. Central. And right before that, it's actually going to square Jupiter. So from about 3 to 6 p.m. Central Time, there's some intensity again at a 22. And this is about long-standing issues. Honestly, you're going to hear a lot of government stuff out in the world. I mean, that's what the 22s are. And where individuals are feeling that they're struggling with home and family things, or that there is some expectation of, leadership to be kind of helping with what's going on with job numbers and that sort of stuff. And it does feel like there is a bit of like an ouch. So there's no major aspects on Sunday, but you are going to find that with some of the squares that are happening, really the only way out of this, the only way through, is the trine to Mercury in Sagittarius, which, okay, debilitated, but at least optimistic. And we're going to find that with that trine, we can be like, all right, what are we learning about this experience? Where's the pressure, pushing me to take care of myself or handle my business and show up, Mars. The other thing to think about is that Mercury is starting to come into a square with Saturn. So you're going to see this kind of like, Sunday the 28th into Monday the 29th, difficulty with travel, difficulty with communication, major themes out in the world revolving around legal matters, maybe the Supreme Court, challenges with travel. Not a great travel day, the 28th or the 29th, unfortunately. And I would say Sunday is a day that's really about healing identity wounds. You guys are going to find that, yes, there is tension with family. You know, there are some emotional tensions that are rising, but this is about being optimistic with communication, showing up and expressing yourself and talking about what hurts and what you learn from the process of putting yourself out there. To navigate Sunday, I would say this is about bold self-care. Speak your truth, do so honestly, and we want to kind of end the week with this kind of courageous reflection. But be mindful, we don't have to push any conversations, any contracts, any travel, ideally the 28th or the 29th, okay? So we're going to see the moon continue to go through Aries. And honestly, I find that when the moon goes through Aries, like sometimes it's like doing your own thing, you know? It's like, I'm okay, just let me do my own thing, or I've got stuff I got to get done, or I have to get a workout in, or there needs to be kind of an outlet to kind of deal with some of the emotions that are coming up from the square to Jupiter. So with that being said, let's take a look and see where this Venus in Capricorn transit is happening for all of the rising signs. So I'm going to show you guys this from the perspective of the whole sign system. I am a Western astrologer. That's the astrology that I like to practice. And you're going to get the most out of my predictions if you listen to your rising sign prediction, because I'm looking at it in, zodiacal order. So I'm looking at where the planets are actually moving through according to the rising sign, whole sign system. If you want to, you can listen to your sun sign or your moon sign as well. It is beneficial to kind of get the full picture. So do listen to 3 signs. And obviously, as a reminder, if you are a Taurus, a Libra, or a Capricorn rising, this is going to be a little bit more prominent for you. And I think the earth signs are going to like it for sure. Taurus and Virgo, you guys are going to dig some of the trines that are going to be happening. The water signs will likely like it as well, especially Pisces. And if you guys want to use Placidus housing system, you might have to listen to another rising sign. Just look at where 0 degrees of Capricorn is in your chart. Listen to that rising sign to kind of get the full picture of what Venus's kind of lesson is for you. But honestly, you're going to look back in January and you're going to go, so much stuff happened in the Capricorn area of my life. So listen to your rising sign. All right, we're going to start with my Aries and my Aries risings. What's up, Aries? You guys are going to be experiencing Venus entering into Capricorn, moving through your natal 10th house. Now, the 10th house obviously deals with your status out in the world. So it can be your relationship status, your career status, how you present yourself, to people in public. And this is going to manifest with Venus going through your 10th house for the next several weeks as having more professional charm. Maybe getting recognition at work, maybe meeting with clients or having, kind of business meetings or partnerships that are emerging, maybe meeting somebody that can be a prominent business partner or a romantic connection. Now, Venus rules your 2nd house of money and values and your 7th house of partnerships. So certainly you're really committed to getting a lot of work done, meeting people, making more money, all that great stuff. And you'll especially see at the beginning of January with the triple conjunction that there is like a big breakthrough that's happening out in the world when it comes to your reputation. So I'm predicting for my Aries placements, stable finances through new alliances. What you should expect is that a boss energy type of love kind of emerges for you. You're taking responsibility for the people in your life that you love. I think it's a wonderful time to be networking. I think it's also a time to really feel love through achievement. Aries, I hope it's a good one for you guys. Definitely let me know what happens. All right, for my Taurus and Taurus risings, you guys are going to experience Venus going through the sign of Capricorn in your natal 9th house. Now, first things first, your Venus, Taurus, wherever Venus is where you are. So she's moving into the 9th house, which deals with higher education, airports, traveling, learning, teachers, your belief system. And by sign, because it's the same element, Earth, it will be trining you at some point, and it will also trine Uranus down the road. So I think this is going to be wonderful for my Taurus risings. This is a house that's all about beliefs and like the bigger picture of life and feeling a little bit more kind of enthusiastic or like optimistic, especially when it comes to your beliefs about your career or things you're learning or maybe legal matters or even publishing. So for Taurus risings, this is going to really kind of manifest as having much more of a mature kind of philosophy about life. Maybe you're more optimistic about your career. Maybe there's a long distance commitment that's kind of brewing. Wonderful for planning education or anything that involves like ceremonies like graduations or things kind of connected to weddings. And obviously because Venus rules you, this is a personal kind of glow up that's happening. And I think that you're getting really serious about your growth. Also about your health and your habits, as Venus is kind of tied to your 6th house. Maybe you're making more time for travel or education, and I think you're really going to enjoy it, especially as Venus and Mars are connecting. A lot of single Taurus and Taurus risings might meet people while they're traveling or learning something. There can also be some really significant kind of unions that are happening with you and teachers or meeting someone. I think some of you guys might be talking about getting married or getting engaged. Great for legal matters, great for publishing. And I really think that a lot of you guys are going to be prioritizing a little bit more when it comes to your beliefs about your career or travel. And you'll appreciate some of the enduring wisdom that comes from this transit. Good luck, Taurus. All right, for my Geminis and my Gemini risings, you guys are going to experience Venus transiting through Capricorn in your natal 8th house. Interesting transit for you guys. Obviously, the 8th house is kind of hidden. It's something you don't always see. But I think it might equate to you guys getting a nice little check over the holidays or some kind of boost in money or feeling like other people are being more generous. And that's because the 8th house deals with intimacy, so it can be sexy. It also deals with shared resources. So whether that is Christmas bonuses, inheritances, investments, money owed, your partner's coming into some money. And I also think that it's not just about physical things, okay? Obviously, Venus deals with things you don't see coming and things that can represent kind of conclusions and endings. It's also directly tied to your 5th house of romance and children and creativity. So there can be a lot more passion in relationships. There can a lot be more expenses relating to children. It can also be a time when you're feeling very creative. And it'll manifest, I think, as deeper commitments, better financial bonds also that'll be taking place. And obviously, passionate secrets can be emerging for you guys over the next couple of weeks. Now, I am expecting transformative love for my Geminis, and I think that this is really about getting serious about thinking about your joint investment strategy, savings accounts, anything connecting to retirement, and really practicing vulnerability in relationships so that way you can kind of open up and build trust when it comes to other people. Now, it is possible that you guys are embracing taking on some changes with your career. The 8th house is transformation, Capricorn is career. And I'm looking at the sextiles to Saturn, so some of you guys might be kind of feeling that you're willing to make a change and take a risk at work. Even though it may not seem like it's going to be something that's easy, I think it's actually going to pay off for you in the long run. Good luck, Gemini. For my Cancers and Cancer risings, you guys are going to experience Venus transiting through the sign of Capricorn, going through your natal 7th house of relationships and partnerships. I have to say, you're one of the signs I'm most excited to see how this manifests for over the next month. Obviously, Venus loves the 7th house. It has a traditional association with Libra through this house. And the 7th house is about relationships. So whether it's business relationships, Capricorn, if it's romantic relationships, if it's, putting yourself out there, meeting someone new, or having strengthened bonds and existing kind of connections, it's a beautiful transit for you guys. I think that what I would be watching for is, Venus is tied to your home and your family. It's also tied to your goals and anything involving your friends. So there can be a lot more togetherness with these kind of individuals throughout the next couple of weeks. I'd be watching what happens with some of the oppositions to Jupiter, because it can mean that there's just a lot of relationship things that feel good, but it might be kind of stretching your schedule a little thin. And you might feel like you need a coach, an astrologer, a therapist, or somebody more to kind of lean on this month, but I think you guys are going to have it. Now, I'm predicting for you guys a lot more stability when it comes to your home and also your goals due to partners as well as friends. And I'm expecting a lot of big love stories for my Cancer risings. I think there's going to be some significant people you're going to meet if you're single, commitment for those of you guys who have been in it for a while, and a lot more partner reliability. People really show up in a much more mature way, and love feels a lot more secure. This is all feeding off of Saturn, which obviously is in your 9th house. So a relationship with a teacher, a mentor, a legal advisor, a spiritual advisor, or love at a distance, relationships that might be with people who are further away, but then really showing up and showing you that they mean business. So I hope you guys enjoy this transit. It's going to be really interesting to watch over the next couple of weeks. You'll have to let me know. All right, we've got Leo and Leo rising. You guys are going to experience Venus transiting through Capricorn in your natal 6th house. And for you guys, Venus is tied to your 3rd house of communication, siblings, and learning, the 10th house of career and reputation. And when Venus goes through this house, it means business. It means love requires work. You got to roll up your sleeves and be willing to do the work for the things and the people that you love. Now, take into consideration that at the beginning of January, you're going to see the Sun and Venus and Mars meeting. And I think this is wonderful for some of you guys who want to start a business, start a new job, get into a new office, get into a new gym routine. I think it's going to be really beneficial for you guys in the long run. It may seem like a lot of work right now, but I think it'll be worth it. And it's helping you kind of balance your schedule and your physical habits with your emotional habits and what's going on with your rest. Now, Leo, this is all about practical self-care and workplace romance as possible, or meeting somebody cute at the gym. Venus connecting to your 3rd and your 10th house is going to really show that you're really clear about communication and your goals. So I'm predicting that some of you guys are going to have more discipline in your routines. Maybe it's about beautifying your daily life, bring in some art into the office space. Maybe it's a time where you're kind of showering your pets with a little bit more gifts and kind of love. And you're going to learn that love requires service throughout this transit. But I think it's going to be beautiful for some of you guys that are realizing that you really have to invest in your health, because your health is your wealth. Good luck, Leo. For my Virgos and Virgo risings, you guys are going to experience Venus transiting the sign of Capricorn in your natal 5th house. Now, Venus is tied to your personal pleasure, your resources, and also your self-esteem, as well as education, travel, and your personal philosophy or legal matters. Wow, wow, wow. Venus, Mars, and the Sun moving through your 5th house. To be a Virgo or Virgo rising throughout this transit, quite beautiful. I think a lot of this is just about having fun and experiencing romance, and you guys have to make time for it. Capricorn in the 5th means you have to treat love like it's serious business. Also showing love for your creative hobbies, maybe your children or anything kind of connected to self-expression. Virgo, I think this is going to manifest as some serious fun, and this is also playing off of Saturn in your 7th house, where maybe in certain relationships, you're realizing you're falling deeper in love, you're ready for commitment, maybe you're discussing marriage, or you're talking about, expanding a family, or, getting serious about date nights. I love this transit for you guys. I think you're going to find that you're willing to invest in fun. A lot of your worth is tied to relationships or creativity. Maybe you're committed to new hobbies, side hustles, or self-employment. And this is about really getting serious about your love life and dating in a much mature manner. I do advise you guys to, maybe express love in an artistic way and be willing to share that with other people. If you're an artist or someone who creates something and you have something for sale, it's a time to get the show on the road and start making that stuff and getting it out there, because I think people are going to be interested in what you have created. Enjoy that playtime and the romantic opportunities. And if you have kids, time with your kids. It looks like it's going to be wonderful. All right, we've got Libra and Libra rising. What's up, Libra? Your chart ruler's on the move. So for my Libra risings, wherever Venus is where you are, because it rules your 1st house. So obviously for the next several weeks, Venus is at the bottom of your chart. Venus is also tied to the 8th house, which can be about joint finances, intimacy, security, transformation, inheritances. And Venus actually really likes being in the 4th house. Libra and Libra risings, you guys may find that there is a woman coming to stay and visit with you. This can be family. This can also mean that this is somebody who maybe is going to change or help transform your home or your family in a financial matter. And this will manifest as you being at home more, you focusing on, cozy traditions, family commitments, being in the kitchen, kind of getting stuff done with the family, working from home. And inner security is about to get a major glow up. And you're going to see that over the next several weeks with Venus going through that sign. Also, the oppositions to Jupiter is saying that with that retrograde, you're kind of reflecting on, what changes you're making at work so you can really prioritize your home or your family goals. If you're looking to buy a house, if you're looking to decorate, if you were looking to renovate, these are all things that you might be considering or contemplating. Watch for people bringing gifts and things that are sweet to your house. Like I have Venus in Capricorn in the 4th house, and so it's always funny. And now that I have a Venus here this year, I've been noticing that there's just, people are sending stuff. So thank you guys for doing that. But people always kind of show up with sweets and cookies and like all kinds of other things. And this is also a wonderful time to be kind of honoring, I would say, family that may not be with you because of that connection to the 8th house. So other ways that you can kind of honor family that either aren't around any longer or people who can't actually physically be with you at home. And definitely if you're going to decorate, you're going to do it in like a classy way. And you're really just focusing on nurturing yourself emotionally throughout this transit. I think you're going to like the Mars and the Venus conjunction too. Some great love stories or maybe some family introductions for some Libra risings. Scorpio and Scorpio rising, you guys are going to experience Venus transiting through the sign of Capricorn in your natal 3rd house. Venus is tied to relationships, commitments, partnerships, and marriage, as well as the 12th house of what's hidden, unexpected, or surprises. Now, Venus going through your 3rd house, Scorpio, is going to be a fun transit. This is all about siblings, vehicles, gadgets, communication, neighbors, and anything that you can learn. So as Venus goes through this part of your chart, you're wanting to indulge in maybe education, or maybe you're going to be sprucing up your car or planning like a short getaway. You might find that connections with siblings can be a little bit more serious, and obviously there can be more serious talk when it comes to relationships as well. Now, because Venus rules your 7th and your 12th, I'm expecting deep conversations and pillow talk with partners, maybe meeting people while you're traveling or potentially even online. And I would expect that there is much more of a focus on kind of sweet talk, intellectual attraction with other people. And this is a wonderful time if you're a Scorpio or Scorpio rising to be really writing things down, things that you value, things that you love, thank you notes, sweet notes to family or potentially partners, and really kind of having like a softening of the mind in how you communicate and connect with people. All of this is playing off of Saturn that's in your 5th house. So there is this sense of, maybe talking more seriously about commitment with, kind of relationships that are just kind of blossoming. Maybe communications with children, maybe traveling with kids. Certainly it can mean that you're communicating when you're dating from a much more serious perspective. And there can also be lots of opportunities for you to be really strengthening some of your kind of creative skills. So, taking action, building websites, working on apps, maybe thinking about creating new bios or social media or other things to really kind of showcase some of your personal talent. But I think you guys are going to love this transit, especially when Mars or Venus are conjunct. I think there is like a huge glow up that's going on for Scorpio risings in their career. So if you're in writing or media, I really expect leaning into that throughout this next couple of weeks. For my Sag and Sag risings, you guys are going to have Venus entering into the sign of Capricorn, moving into your natal 2nd house. It's playing off of your 11th house themes of goals, friends, and allies, and your 6th house of obviously health, habits, pets, and routine or work. Wow, wow, wow. What a strong period for Sag and Sag risings financially. This is going to be beautiful because Venus legs going through the 2nd house. This is really bringing you an opportunity to focus more on your money, your values, your spending power, and also just your self-esteem, feeling rock solid when it comes to your self-esteem. It can manifest as more financial stability, really focusing on quality possessions and things that are going to last a long time. I think that this is about worth coming through joy and also through some kind of connection with purchases, connecting to family, property, or real estate as it's playing off of Saturn in your 4th. Maybe feeling solid in a sense of home, or maybe feeling like you could finally start, spending some of your hard-earned cash when it comes to looking at some home improvements or changes. So furniture, art, things like that. I do think the other thing that is going to be interesting in this transit is going to be when you start seeing some of the oppositions to Jupiter. So you're going to be wanting to watch that in January because it's going to be a lot of what you have and where it's coming from. So Jupiter retrograde is you're bringing in money from family, from property, from settlements, from some kind of support or money that's owed to you, and it's going to dramatically change a lot of Sag or Sag risings kind of financial situations. I would say focus on practical abundance, invest wisely, and really appreciate the luxuries throughout this transit and what they bring. Good luck, Sag. Capricorn and Capricorn rising, I bet you guys are just going to love the astrology for the next couple of weeks. You have Venus going through your sign, which is nothing new. You get that transit once a year. So, obviously Venus sitting in your 1st house of self is kind of tying into your 10th house of career and reputation and your 5th house of creativity, joy, and children. My goodness, Capricorn risings, you are being blessed with a lot more visibility out in the world, potentially some big kind of stories revolving around professional or romantic relationships that are supporting you. Take photos of yourself. My goodness, with Venus and Mars and the sun in your sign, there's a lot more vitality. There's a lot more creative energy. You're feeling more playful, more romantic. And I really feel like there is going to be this sense of having like a magnetic presence about you. Obviously, self-love will get a major boost, and you will also probably find that you're a lot more charismatic when it comes to your personal ambitions. I would be expecting you to be, dressing and acting and looking attractive, but you're doing it in a classy, kind of tasteful way. And I think this is really for some of you guys going through like a major style glow up, maybe an upgrade with your, your wardrobe, and really embodying self-worth. Now, this is also playing off of Saturn in your third house. So some of the money that you're kind of spending or some of the things that you're kind of doing might be connected to education, travel, cars. Maybe you're feeling a lot of love from the family, or maybe you are just speaking in a much more kind of beautiful, kind of eloquent way. I also think that self-love affirmations are really positive throughout this transit. Be mindful of what you're saying, what you're thinking, what you're writing, because that will actually have a huge impact on your physical appearance. And I think you're really going to love when like the Mars-Venus conjunction happens, because there's big changes happening with your professional or your relationship status, and big changes that are going to be happening at home. And then as you get into January, those oppositions to Jupiter are going to represent where you're just kind of really feeling, I think, a lot more solid because of the support that you're getting from an incoming relationship. So Capricorn and Capricorn rising, you guys will have to let me know what happens. That looks like a beautiful transit for you guys. For my Aquarius and Aquarius risings, you guys are going to experience Venus transiting through the 12th house of Capricorn, and a lot of planets going through there. Obviously, for you, the 12th house deals with behind the scenes, foreign lands, your bedroom, your subconscious, also hidden enemies. Venus is tied to the 9th house, which can be about travel, belief system, education, and also your 4th house of home, family, and property or your roots. So there's a lot of planets spinning through the 12th house. I know Aquarius and Aquarius risings, you guys are probably going into hermit mode right now as you're kind of waiting for Aquarius season next month, and that's when you guys kind of emerge as a butterfly, and there's a lot of things coming to an end or a conclusion, and in a private matter. For some of you guys, it's job change, changes in regards to your status, changes in regards to a lot of things, and you need time to really go into your cocoon phase so you can be that butterfly next month. So a lot of this is more spiritual, it's emotional, and it's going to be more hidden. Now, for you guys, Venus is connected to that 4th and the 9th house of home and growth. So I'm predicting that what you guys are going to get is lots of inner peace. I expect that there are some karmic healing opportunities for you guys. This is all about meditating on your desires and focusing on compassionate release. You will find that this is playing off of Saturn, which is one of your rulers in the 2nd house. And there can be some miracles this holiday season when it comes to your financial situation. And that's because of old storylines of who you are is what you do that's being let go. It's also going to bring you a lot more financial security, better self-esteem. You'll see some of that stuff start to emerge in February and March, but you're kind of going through a trust fall with the universe right now. My advice is this is a time to declutter private spaces. Clean out your office, clean out your closets, kind of organize your bedroom, get rid of all kinds of like excess junk and things that you don't need. Practice a minimalist kind of perspective on physical things, and be willing to toss old beliefs about, like I said, you are what you do, because you're going through some really big professional and also spiritual upgrades. Come up with a nighttime routine. Saunas can be great. Just make sure you guys aren't working in bed or you aren't doing anything in the late hours, because you really need a lot more rest throughout this transit. And you're clearing out old career karma and also relationship karma in the process. Good luck, Aquarius. And for my Pisces and Pisces risings, you guys are going to experience Venus transiting through the sign of Capricorn, moving through your natal 11th house. Awesome transit for you guys. I think that there's going to be lots of socializing, parties, gatherings, and get-togethers that are kind of taking place. Obviously, the 11th house is where our friends are, and it's also about your dreams and your manifestations. Now, Venus is tied to your 3rd house of the mind, communication, siblings, and neighbors. It's also going to be tied to your 8th house of kind of hidden relationship themes, joint finances, money, and resources. So as Venus goes through your 11th house, it's really going to be focusing on bringing together much more committed, mature relationships. It's about future visions for your career, networking opportunities, and creating stable aspirations for your future. Now, I'm expecting lots of group harmony. So there could be, Christmas parties with friends and also with people at work. This is really about aligning your values socially and choosing high quality friendships and manifesting for the long term. And it's playing off of Saturn in your first house, where if you're super committed to your goals, you're going to surround yourself with people who are going to support the person you're becoming. It might also mean that there's an upgrade in some of your social friendships, that there's like old friends that are coming back in that you haven't seen in a while, or you're connecting with older people who are kind of helping you when it comes to your career or your profession. And it's a very powerful time for focusing on your wishes or your goals. So you have to be really steadfast with that. And say yes to some of the social opportunities and the connections. You never know. Love can actually be found at like a holiday party or an event. Good luck, Pisces. All right, guys. Well, obviously, this is going to be a fun Venus transit. You guys will see even more of it as we get into January. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I hope your guys' Venus in Capricorn brings you long-lasting love and abundance. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. So drop your rising sign below and let me know what is Venus blessing you with over this next month or so. I'm wishing you guys all a happy holiday season with your friends and your family. I hope it is beautiful and magical. And I'll see you here next Friday for live tarot readings. If you want to see more about me and my work, if you'd like to learn astrology or maybe pick up a 2026 calendar, click the links below and head over to beyondtheveiltarot.com. While you're there, sign up for my newsletter, giving you guys all kinds of alerts for when I have new products and stuff coming up in this next year, including in January, I am coming back to teaching, and I'm going to be teaching my advanced techniques with Astro 301. So we have a few spots left. If you guys want to sign up, I'll see you there. And with that being said, I'll let you go. Enjoy your holiday season. Take care.